Matthews.
Here.
Ingalls.
Here.
Flood.
Here.
Bolt.
Here.
Rutherford.
Here.
Seahorn.
Here.
Richter.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, now we'll do the invocation, and Pastor Travis Hurst is here from Faith Christian Outreach. Thank you, sir, for coming out tonight.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for the opportunity that we have to gather and deliberate and consider new things for this great community of Shawnee. Thank you for these that represent us and for those that work so hard to serve us. We thank you for the opportunity to live in this great nation of the United States, that we are given this right. I ask, Lord, that you will guide our steps tonight in all that we do. May we give you honor. May we make the right decisions. And Lord, may we do what is best for the community and also for each other. And we thank you for it in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. If you'll join me in the flag salute. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item 1, we've got a recognition of Jacob Foose for his dedication and commitment to the community. So are we going to do this down front? Is that, or from here? How did you guys go up there? That's what I think. Let's do that. Let's see where I have to go. There we go. Here, pick the pen up. I don't know if I like this. Jacob, how can we thank you for the huge contributions you've made to Shawnee as Assistant City Manager? You're responsible for bringing more than $12 million in additional funding to Shawnee through multiple successful grant applications. Pretty amazing. Manage the update of policies and ordinances related to financial planning and budgeting, resulting in the implementation of contingency funds, which I don't think we've ever had before. That's awesome. Shepherded the timely development of fiscal year 2022-2023 budget, which included no less than 20 interdepartmental coordination meetings. Researched, drafted, and presented numerous administrative reports, such as educating the public on sales tax fundamentals, which was an awesome report, utility rates, tax increment, financing, and the 2023 sales tax initiative, so as to provide timely and complete information on important topics. Created a dedicated web page for easy citizen access to the reports and information presented at City Commission meetings with the goal of improving government transparency. Developed agenda memo templates and presentation guidelines for City Commission meetings. Provided administrative oversight for multiple grants during staffing transition. Excelled in the review of operational and processes and the development of recommendations for increased efficiencies. And lastly, exhibited superhuman speed in your responses to text and email inquiries, which were all written with grace and style. All of this and more done with the winning smile and warm support for anyone that asked for assistance. And let me tell you, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You have been amazing to work with. I know all the commissioners are going to agree. Let me tell you, when we had a concern that a citizen would send to us, and we would send it over here to City Hall, let me tell you, this guy jumped right on it and took care of lots of things. And I heard many, many, many good reports from citizens around town about the amazing work that you did for us, and we're really going to miss you here in Shawnee. We have something here for you, and I'll read this to everybody. It's a certificate of recognition presented to Jacob Foose this 21st day of February 2023 on behalf of the City of Shawnee for his dedication and commitment to our community as Assistant City Manager. And let me tell you, we cannot thank you enough. You have been amazing. We're gonna hate to lose you. We're very happy for you. And anyway, I'm gonna give you this and give you the opportunity to talk to folks. Susie's got to get a photograph. You get that? Oh, one more. There you go, all yours. And if you want to say a few words.
I just say thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners and City Manager. It's been a true honor to work and serve here. It's a wonderful community to live in, and just happy for the service I could provide. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, tonight, item 2 is going to be citizen participation. We've got quite a few folks that want to talk tonight. I think that's great. First up is Sylvia. Pardika. Oh, you're up first. Don't be shy. I know you're not.
Super shy. I am, for real. Well, can I start now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Good evening, citizens, and the dog over there. My name is Sylvia Partyka, and I'm a Director of Development for Mabigara Museum of Art here in Shawnee, located on the 1900 West MacArthur Street by the St. Gregory Abbey. This morning I was attending Museum Advocacy Day at State Capitol with Oklahoma Museum Association, visiting our senators and representatives to talk to them about supporting Senate Bill 310. If you would like more information about it, I've got a brochure. I just don't want to bore everyone here. I figured out that it would be a great idea to spread this advocacy to Shawnee government and citizens. Our museum, I hope as most of you know, is over 100 years old, and we are one of the oldest art museums in Oklahoma, and the only museum between Chicago and Houston that has real mummy in its collection. Mabigara Museum of Art provides art education and programming to children and adults in Oklahoma and beyond. Over the past 10 years, the museum has worked with more than 150,000 pre-K through 12th grade students. Our museum trains its docents, Oklahoma teachers, and others in the use of visual thinking strategies called VTS. VTS has a significant student impact when used in a classroom 30 minutes per month. The museum launched the only art therapy training program in Oklahoma in 2022 called SWAN, Supporting Wellness Through Art and Nature. Our organization provides virtual tours for schools through Oklahoma as well as across the USA and Canada. We offer scholarships that provide 100% free admissions to all kinds of schools and even up to $200 money back for the gas after kids send us back a little survey. The surveys are the favorite part of my job. The most common comment is, I want to touch things, because when kids enter, we told them no drinks, no food, no touching objects. Or they said it was creepy because of the mummy, but we like that because we don't want to talk about boring things. And whenever they talk, oh, it was creepy, it starts the conversation. I'm really proud to work for this museum. I hope that most of you have been there. I hope most of you have been there. If not, you guys are always welcome. And I cannot provide any tours because I don't know too much about or I know about collection, but you don't want to hear it from me, trust me. Trust me. And if you have any questions or would like more information, I have some brochures. So just stop by and say hi. And I want to thank you all for listening and all the support that you showed us so far. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Righty. Next up is Rob Morris. How are you tonight, Rob?
Pretty good. Tonight we've got a couple things on the agenda that need to be addressed. Economic development. We give our economic development money in the sum of approximately $300,000 to Shawnee Forward every year. Well, Shawnee Forward's CEO has now been fired. You can call it resignation all you want, but it was either resign or fired is the other option. So it's pretty much fired. It's just a polite way of doing it. A couple things tonight. We have our city attorney is not going to be representing the city of Shawnee anymore on the Shawnee Forward board. I'd like to know why the commissioner that's going to be put there abstained when voting to remove the CEO of Shawnee Forward, because that was the right thing to do for the city of Shawnee. You don't get to play friends. Contract review committee. Mr. Mayor, you and our vice mayor both sit on that contract review committee, and y'all review the contract for Shawnee Forward every year. Yet it's what, 65 to 70%, 75% of the money we've given them that's been misappropriated, missing? What is it? I don't think we know yet, and if we do, maybe we could be transparent and tell everybody. I'd also like to know how we missed this at the contract review committee, along with when the 7 of you voted on it later on down the road when the contract review committee said, yes, we like this contract. How did we miss that? Maybe we can also discuss how it is we're $525,000 underwater on the expo. That didn't happen overnight. You don't get to blame that on COVID. So what's that? Now, 2 of you, Mr. Mayor, you and another commissioner, were at Shawnee Forward.
You can't direct comments directly to any commission.
It says to the mayor or the body as a whole. I'm doing exactly what the rules say.
You've received your admonition.
And I'm still doing what the rules say. I'd like to reclaim my time too that you took from that. So, is that good?
Mr. Morris?
I'm asking a question, man.
Yeah.
Let's get to the
You
bottom
got
of things
3
here,
minutes,
so there isn't.
Or we'll call you out of order.
Who's taking Mr. Salter's place on the mediation for the expo? That seat hasn't been filled. And the very last thing, and it was actually going to be a positive thing, when you go in Shawnee, aside from maybe a small thing in Smoking Oaks, the only park north of MacArthur is Optimist by Paul's Place. There's some vacant lots over in Northridge, which is actually an older neighborhood now, that nobody's ever built anything on. Make a great place for a park, a new park, somewhere else in Shawnee, and bring neighborhoods together too. I'll work with anyone on this commission that wants to work on that. We can put any bygones we have between us aside and work for something for the greater, because we can make new parks while taking care of the old ones at the same time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next up, looks like John Silver.
I'm sorry, I'm actually an applicant. I didn't know your system. So I'll be on later.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Next up is Teresa Cody.
I'll give my time to recount, please.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Teresa. All righty. Shelley Bird. How are you doing, Shelley?
So far, so good. It's been Monday all day, but
I
good
hear
evening.
ya.
Excuse me while I drag my dead horse up here to beat it. I've only spoken at one other meeting, and that was regarding our habitationally challenged outdoorsmen and the inability to use our public library because of them. Today, I'm still going to complain about them. On the 13th, one of them was right across the street over here, dragging our trash can onto our sidewalk and dumping it out, kicking it and walking away for no apparent reason other than it was fun. Got it on camera if anybody would like to see it. Since my last meeting here, I've been to numerous Shawnee downtown business owners, community meetings, trying to figure out what can be done about this. They say, well, they've got rights. I've tried looking in the ordinances. All I see is something that says you don't have to grant them access to your property if they're loitering, boisterous, drunk, exposing themselves, etc. So why are they being allowed to do this on the library's property? And right around the corner from me, where they're wandering over and dumping out my trash, so I have to go out and pick it up. Is it legal or not? Because I don't think they should have more rights than we as Shawnee citizens do. Or as business owners, employees, anybody that's actually working for a living in downtown Shawnee and is being accosted by these people. I've talked to numerous business owners from all the way up on MacArthur to on Main Street that say they have the same problem. These people are accosting them, they're accosting their customers, demanding food, demanding they be allowed access. What can be done? I'm willing to write a petition, put something on a law, whatever we have to do. I don't know. I'm frustrated. And that's really all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Mark Stewart. How are you, sir?
I'm really just going to go over some stuff that I know you've all heard before, but I hold in my hand this ordinance sheet 2558 NS that we don't have to, but when we sign up, it's given to us. And it allows us 3 minutes a month to complete our comments. And to only have 3 minutes, I know you guys receive a lot of criticism. You do. But usually it's from the heart. And there's no time in 3 minutes for a lot of pats on the back or attaboys, and that's unfortunate. But it also states that we have to address comments to the body, not individual commissioners. And I bring this up because Mr. Morris stated last month at the commission meeting on June 21st, 2021, former Mayor Richard Finley was allowed to personally attack then Commissioner and seated at this dais Bob Weaver from Ward 6. That's the first rule that was broken. He was also allowed to speak uninterrupted for 3 minutes and 38 seconds, which I used a YouTube stamp to get the exact time. I watched it several times, and I just didn't know why this was allowed for him to come up here and do this when this was in the rules. You can't do it. Next, the city code stipulates that citizen comments are to be addressed after the comment is made, and why aren't they? It's a lot easier to either forget things or brush off comments until after the business at the end of a long meeting. And the financial disclosures, they're supposed to be filed according to the Ethics Commission. Who dropped the ball by forgetting this? Just complete the form. That's all we ask. And do you expect citizens to follow the rules here when you don't? I'd like to finish up by commending my ward commissioner, Commissioner Richter, for answering my questions and conversations this week. And Commissioner Richter, you do get an attaboy. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Let's see. Looks like Holly is up next. How are you doing, Holly?
Hi, I'm great. So I get to bookend Sylvia from the Maybe Guerra Museum of Art. So I usually get to come in front of you and say, you know, these are some really good things that I'm experiencing in the community. I have a different hat on. I have the chair of the board of the Maybe Guerra Museum of Art hat on this evening. And much in the way that Sylvia was saying, our art museum is oftentimes the only exposure to art and culture that some of our rural communities, school kids have access to. And through our opportunities of reimbursement for gasoline money and some other various things, schools have the opportunity to come to the Maybe-Guerra Museum of Art for $0. So when you're an educator and you're looking for things to do that cover, Commissioner Richter, yes, you're getting it. So when you're looking for things for your young people to look at STEM, culture, art, humanities, social, and social connection, the Maybe-Guerra Museum of Art is here for you. And I would like to personally invite each one of you to the high school juried show. It is coming up March 24th from 6 to 7. That's our opening reception evening. And this is regional high school art. It's a juried show. It's going to be amazing, and we're really excited about it. And if you have any questions about the Maybe-Guerra, you can contact Sylvia, you can contact me, and I'd be really happy to show you around and get you interested. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So next up is Rick Young. Making sure I haven't missed one.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
You're good. I am Rick Young, Ward 3, stakeholder. I would like to kind of lighten things up just a little bit. It's kind of tight this evening, but that's okay. First off, I'd like to give thanks, kudos, praise, and some admonition also. More praise and thanks than admonition. First, I want to thank Jacob Foos for his time here as our assistant city manager. I was able to meet him before he took office, and he is all that has been spoken of him, and I want to just say bless you and God as you go and take what you have received here and add to it. So we thank you for that. I did hear, and this was kind of a shock, not really a shock, but it was kind of disturbing to me that Rachel Milo, who's done so much for Shawnee in the 2.5 years she's been here with Shawnee Forward. We've got quite some transitions since 2020, and a little bit before. I think I've been working for about 4 years on a lot of the civic stuff, and I never would have thought in my 64 years that I'd be involved in anything in my hometown of Shawnee, America, but we're here for that reason. I also want to give kudos and thanks to Mark Danhoff. If you don't know Mark Danhoff, he's the new coach for the Potawatomi Fire, and there was choices to be made where I thought, do you come to the council meeting or you go to the exhibition? I've seen tens of thousands of games, and so I'm not going to miss anything one whit. So anyway, we want to just make sure if you see Mark and also the people that are part of the fire, give them good congratulations. David Qualls, wonderful guy, and he's doing wonderful things for the organization. Also, Piper McNeil. If you don't know who Piper is, she set some records in leading Shawnee Lady Wolves to 2 times 5A state titles in swimming. When I was in school, we didn't have swimming, boys or girls. It was at the creek at the YMCA Municipal Auditorium, or you did the wading pools around town. So we want to make sure that we congratulate those young ladies, and especially Ms. Piper, and she has a great future. Also, I want to extend thanks to the staff. I know a lot of times we talk about the staff, and they're usually in the back. They're not in the back. They're the ones lifting all the heavy work and doing what they do. And so I want to extend some thanks to them. Also, the mayor and the commissioners. You guys are unpaid, and you get all the slings and the arrows, but it's kind of like one of those things. You signed up for it. And at the same time, our prayers and our condolences are to you and for you. And if you need more than that, come see me. We'll talk about it. I want to be thankful for the opportunity to stand before you in this hall and the freedom that we all have still. And especially, I know we set aside 28 days, 29 days of leap year for Black History Month. Let me just kind of give it this way. Black History Month is all months. Black history is American history. We don't separate it. We try to separate it. Everybody gets their little month and it gets, say, 31 days or whatever it might be. We are Americans, first off. So I want to just kind of put that out this evening. We also, those of a part of this body, we are Shawneeans also. We are trying to take Shawnee America and throw her into the 21st century, or thrust her in the 21st century as we come together and we kind of reason together what we're doing up here. And at the same time, it's just like a family. You're going to have some that kind of grade you a little differently, but they're family. They're part of your family. Your crazy uncle in the basement, he's your uncle. So I want to just say thank you for what we have been made available. People that look like me, and I'm not talking about the Scott Irish part of me, but the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Thankful and grateful. Freed, citizenship, right to vote. As a man, I know the ladies came a little bit later with right to vote and all of that. The Native Americans had right to vote, but they're without owning property. So I do thank God for that. I'm also thankful for the total 27 amendments. And if you don't know what they are, get you a copy and look at the 27 amendments to the Constitution. We're wrangling up here at in this municipality of what we can do, what we can't do, rule of order, and all that kind of stuff. I did see a man reclaim his time. I was impressed. He reclaimed his time from the attorney, which that takes some tact right there. The freedom of speech in a public setting. We're in a public setting here, gathering of, by, and for the people for the good of the whole. That's what this exercise is about, that we do once a month now, 3 minutes per individual, and that's what it's about. I'm always asked this because they look at me as one of those guys that when I left, I said the same thing. A lot of people say, I'm never coming back to that God-forsaken place. There's one little problem, like Travis, he knows. I think Travis has been back 3 or 4 times. The guy who created all of us said, he said this, and he doesn't run nothing. So we are here, those of you that have been called, and I am one that has been called, ordained, and sanctioned for such a time as this. I know you guys hear me say a lot of stuff, and I'm not like blowing smoke. There are times where you look around and you ask yourself again, why am I here fooling with these folk? What in the world? I can't go anywhere until I'm released. Is that right? Correct. I also want to enumerate a couple things also. People ask me, well, what are you doing? Building bridges, repairing breaches, and helping to teach others to give back. If you guys have seen any of my monikers and some of my branding and what have you, it says a big Y on a hat, and it says yes, and on the back it says giving back. And so we're asking people all over the world, not just in Shawnee, America, to give back, because I believe personally that giving is the wealth secret, and if you don't understand that, you need to stop going to church. Because at the same time, if you have any salvation, if you have anything good, it comes from above, because he gave, you have.
Mr. Young, you've used your 6 minutes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I close with this?
Really fast.
God bless you, and I'll put it in social media, and y'all can read the rest of it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have next up LaDonna Bryce. How are you? Rick, you got 3 more minutes if you want to use them.
Close the book. Thank you. Okay, let me go ahead and finish here. Some of the challenges that we're facing in Shawnee, America that we've seen, and we addressed, the young lady just talked about some of the things we have with the unhoused. We changed the terminology of some of the things that we say because of political correctness and all that. For the unhoused, and I want to say the unhoused is actually a 4-pronged situation, challenge. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. One of the things that we have with this 5-pronged unhoused is mental, criminal, addicted, vagrants, and unhoused. We have a situation where we have been given an opportunity as representative of government to answer some of those problems. In the city of Shawnee, it's not just your problem. There are churches, civic organizations, and other people that are part of this. We have people that come from out of town to help us feed the people that are unhoused. I talk to them. What are you doing here? You're from where? And at the same time, we talk to people that look like me, and I'll guarantee you, every person that looks like me and David, I talk to them. Where are you from? Who's your kinfolk? Who are you connected to? I'm from New Orleans. I'm from Chicago. I'm from Phoenix, Philly. What in the there are you doing here? They give me a story, and it's like, well, it really don't add up. So people say, well, do you have family here? If they say, yeah, I have family, this is my cousin, this is my whatever, then it's legitimate. But some of it's not. And at the same time, the frustration that you hear from the real stakeholders, it's real. And a lot of times we lose credibility when we keep blowing smoke up their addresses and tell them one thing and they know that it's not the truth. So one of the things I know that we have to do is be transparent. We need some more transparency, and we need to communicate one-on-one with each other. I appreciate those that have given time, especially Ms. Richter here, your name was mentioned. I know she's new. to the dais and all of that. She's a little new to the whole process, but at the same time, she does some due diligence. And I appreciate that. Travis does due diligence. Everybody does due diligence. We need to do a little bit more because that's what we've been called for. Transparency, open dialogue, and communication. Total representative government. Now, I'm here tonight to just address a couple of issues. One of them is word voting, which we're going to address later, I think is item number 21. And I believe that I have talked to several of our council people. And let me just put it this way. You can lie to me about whether or not you're for it or against it, but I work with somebody, you can't lie to him. Anyway, I just thank God for you guys being a part of this great experiment that we're going through. I also have something here that a person had shared this with me. Love Your Block, they have been instrumental in a portion of our city. I understand there's more economic input that they want to have. On Sunday, February 26th at 2 o'clock, there's a Black History Month presentation, and everybody in this room is invited. Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Very much. I think we've got everybody. Make sure. I think we have. Okay, we will move on to item 3, which is consideration of the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to take off the consent agenda? If not, we'll take a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve item 3, the consent agenda. We will call the question. I'm going to give Lisa a little time here. No problem, you take your time. Somehow I have managed to.
Of course, mine's buffering.
Did you get a pop-up thing?
His computer had gone to sleep, and so he
Let me do that.
I can reset the vote.
That'd be wonderful. Because it did not pop up here on my screen. That doesn't mean I didn't do something wrong. Still didn't pop up.
Did it?
No, not on this one.
Mine did.
What does it look like?
Then. It looked like that.
Oh, yeah, mine, I didn't get one.
You didn't get one
No,
either?
I didn't get one.
I did.
No, I was
which
waiting for it. I didn't get one. Well,
Yes. Yes. And I can see it. I can see it. I can see it's all on there. I just didn't get
It's been
pop
like
up
this.
to vote.
So it is still waiting for you to join the meeting. We did that, though. See, it says leave meeting. I'm in it.
Push the green button where it says join meeting.
It's that, well, that one says leave meeting. Okay.
What leave it?
I set up the meeting. Okay.
We could try that.
I'm going to reset the vote again.
Okay, well,
I changed my mind.
Okay.
okay, so I've left. Join. And there, we try that. I went out, came back in.
All right, so I'm going to reset it.
Okay, I don't know, I think Lauren's still.
You watched me do it, right? Like I did it the right way, I think. Okay. Okay, are we ready? All right. Is it coming up?
Yeah.
All right, started it again.
So we all need to vote again?
Yes.
So his is not.
Still
But mine did not pop up.
Vote again, Dan?
It has you on here. Is it on there?
Yeah. It's on there.
Do you see me on there?
I can take a verbal. We did.
We can do
I
that.
can do a verbal vote for you and Commissioner Richter. since
Okay.
I don't
There you
know
go.
why it's not working. It was working this afternoon.
I know it was.
New technology.
Okay, so you've got their votes.
I have everyone else's votes except for yours and
Okay.
Commissioner Richter.
Okay, well, if you don't be shy, I mean, I'm going to vote yes.
Yes. Yes.
All righty. And so that motion carried 7-0 then. All righty, so we will move on to the next item then. Let's see. Juggling.
No,
between the two. So item 4 is a presentation of the Pet of the Week by Animal Control, and I could hear him breathing.
Yes, he's been
He's
impatient
had
like a
to-
toddler, and then he just laid down and it's my turn.
Yeah, he's had
So-
to be patient. He's been good.
This is Sir Chews. He's about a year-old Mastiff Lab mix. He's been with us since December the 1st. Very friendly. He gets along with everyone that we've introduced him to. And he wants to love on our shelter cat, but the shelter cat says no. Yeah. But since January the 1st of this year, we've had 34 adoptions. So we're doing very good. So we only have 7 animals for adoption right now.
Really?
Yep.
I know I've seen lots of activity
Yes.
online,
Yes.
and
And that's not counting
great.
the behind the scenes networking. So
Yeah,
we're
very
doing
cool.
good.
So what would it take for someone to take this friendly guy?
$5. He's already
$5 whole
neutered
dollars.
and current on his rabies shot.
Very cool. Thank you for bringing him. Sorry we made you wait so
Nope,
long.
not a problem. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you very much.
Can I make a motion for Commissioner Flood to adopt him?
Yeah, it'd probably work out good. All right, so item 5 is consideration regarding continued mediation between Shawnee Civic and Cultural Development Authority, Pottawatomie County, and the City of Shawnee in replacement of Commissioner Salter as city representative. And I think Andrea's got this for us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. The Shawnee Civic and Cultural Development Authority, SCCDA, was established in 1976 as a public trust under Title 60 of the Oklahoma statutes. The trust was put into being, and the city is its direct beneficiary. The trust was charged with the promotion and management of the International Finals Youth Rodeo, which is held annually at the Expo the city owns. In September of 2021, the SCCDA approached the city with a willingness to engage in mediation because operations at the Expo had changed. Management was taken over by a management company that the city had retained. Shortly thereafter, at the September 20 meeting in 2021, City Commissioners Matthews, Rutherford, and Salter had been appointed to mediation for that specific purpose. And of course, with the departure of Commissioner Salter, we now need a third person to restart those mediation proceedings again. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions? So what you need is a motion. We need a volunteer.
Yes, please.
I'll do it.
If I remember correctly, when we did that, we had the junior most member at the time and the senior most member at the time. Perfect. So
I'm the senior.
Our senior most member would be Commissioner Seahorn. So I'll make a motion to appoint Mark to that.
I'm actually not on anything right now, so.
So there's a motion and a second, there can be discussion.
So we do have a motion and a second?
Yep.
Okay.
Where was the second?
I know, I didn't hear it either.
I think it was Cammie.
My question would be, with the expo residing in Ward 6, should we offer Commissioner Richter the opportunity? Be my question.
The meeting times, they are not ironclad, are they?
The meeting times depend entirely on the mediator, and the mediator, as Joe can attest, is very hard to track down. The last time we had to set aside an entire day, weekday.
I mean, if Lauren wants to, I would be willing to resign so Commissioner Seahorn could also be on it. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. That might need to be in a separate meeting, because I assume it's not on this agenda, but.
So.
I'm happy to do it.
Do what?
I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But there's a motion.
Do what? No, yeah, we need to deal with the motion in the second. I mean.
Yeah. So there's a live motion. It can either be withdrawn or it can be voted on. And
right.
If it doesn't pass, then a subsequent motion can be made.
Okay. It was your motion, so that would be your call, as I understand it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it was my motion.
Yes. So, do you want to vote on that, or do you
Yes.
want to withdraw? So, vote on. He would like to vote on that motion then.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Have a vote.
Hopefully, we can get our voters to work.
Yeah, hopefully they work.
I did.
Let's have you completely log it out.
Okay.
Has yours popped up yet?
So log out.
Oh, sorry. I'm waiting for.
And then it's still thinking. There we go. Okay, so to get back in now. There. And then try there. I feel like we need the Jeopardy music.
It says I'm signed in. I went and clicked on manage account, so it says I'm signed in, but the actual.
Sorry.
Not page, but that.
I did.
Is what's not working. There's no other thing I can click on to get to it, right? Like I clicked on that, it didn't work. Because at first I thought that, we clicked on the hyperlink that was on the desktop. That it isn't somehow connected to your account automatically, like a web page which is full.
Let's try this again.
But it didn't do that this last time.
I don't know.
It's when I signed in for myself.
You guys are in though.
Yeah.
Richter, even though it has present and voting, it has waiting.
And I'm having trouble getting back in.
The mayor's computer
Oh.
acts like it's lost internet.
I mean, it- I don't know which one we go into.
Well, it's connected to
It's
COCS
connected to
wireless.
this. COS wireless. Is that the?
Mine not having trouble.
That's what it looks like it's connected to.
So far mine has too. But a while ago.
It shows it's connected to this one, but
This
it
afternoon's
just
meeting
did.
went flawless.
Yeah, it did.
Why not?
We weren't there 15 minutes.
Maybe 6.
We should have the bandwidth to do it.
It's down 5 or 6, isn't it? Yeah, right here.
If it was a Mac.
Yep, that was it. So, now whether I can vote or not.
I should, man, the second it came out of my mouth.
I'm in.
So are we ready to
I
try
regretted
to
it.
vote?
So Commissioner Richter's having an issue connecting, so.
Okay.
One last to check, just to see.
She restarted her computer
What
to try to get it.
the issue was, I don't know, because I didn't see that we really did anything.
Okay, and now put it up here.
Oh, so close. Okay. You saw me log in underneath me, right? So it's logging me underneath her when I type my name in, and then it goes. Is it? Is it because we're pulling from the history of the internet? What is the Internet Explorer?
The first performance.
Well, still something. Yeah. Because you're pulling a link that was already previously connected to your account.
Yep.
You can have it. Can you unplug it?
I can take verbal votes, whereas you want to can't vote, so if we want to just move on until.
Okay, so did some of you get the pop-up to vote?
No, I haven't started
Okay,
it yet, I
okay.
was waiting. So.
Okay,
Can we
very good.
can we restate everything just in case?
No problem.
Motion and a second to appoint Commissioner Seahorn.
Ready to vote?
Ready for me?
Okay.
No.
Oh, crap, my screen just went black.
Yeah, mine.
Did yours? Oh, okay.
Started. Did yours pop up?
Mine popped up.
My screen went black and then I got nothing.
Is it still black?
No, it's back to live, but I didn't get a vote.
I
It's not
can
up.
say, Commissioner Matthews, would you like to verbal vote?
I'll vote yes.
Mayor, did you get a?
I did not, no ma'am. In fact,
None of us had.
I think I'm totally out.
You didn't either?
No.
No.
Mine, I clicked mine and hit save.
Yeah,
Can you see
I
it?
have yours. Yes. Commissioner Rutherford, would you like a verbal vote?
Yes. And yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
I'll abstain.
Mayor?
Yes.
The pop-up blinked right there and then went away.
Okay. So the motion carried 5 in favor, 1 against, and 1 abstention. So that motion passed.
I just had it flash up, but it disappeared.
Mine did the same. It flashed and disappeared.
And I think I'm not even in there now.
Just do a roll call.
All right, I think we're ready to move on then. Item 6, consideration of resolution to approve an equipment lease purchase agreement with Welch State Bank for the purchase of a patch truck for the Public Works Department in the amount of $298,614.36. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great.
Good.
It's all yours.
Great. Well, before you tonight is a lease purchase agreement for an asphalt patch truck for the Public Works Department. The commission provided approval for this purchase in September of 2021. However, due to a significant delay in the delivery of the vehicle, the increase to the interest rate requires a new approval of the agreement. The monthly payment amount is $8,880.78 a month with an interest rate of 4.41% for 36 months. The total cost of the lease purchase agreement is $319,708, which includes the purchase price of the vehicle and interest of $20,793. The total expense in the current fiscal year is $35,523 and does not require a budget amendment at this time. We did already include the lease purchase in the budget for this year. So I'll happy to answer any questions on the lease purchase agreement. Brad is also here to answer any questions if you have anything specific about the truck.
Okay, very good. Anyone get questions on the truck or what we're doing? If not, we could entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Yes, sir.
Saw that working today.
Cam.
I said they're working on Harrison Street.
All righty. Believe you were up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution approving an equipment lease purchase agreement between Welch State Bank and the City of Shawnee regarding the lease purchase of a 2023 Freightliner.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second, so for approval of item 6, so we'll call the question. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Eagles?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. And motion passes 7-0.
George, come back up.
Item 7, consideration of resolution approving a project agreement between the City of Shawnee and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, ODOT, for bridge approaches over Shawnee Creek. Mr. Barkheimer, how are you, sir?
Pretty good. How are you, Mr. Mayor?
Great.
So this project, I know we've all heard about at this point. This is the Main Street Bridge, as you said, over Shawnee Creek, just west of Tucker Avenue. Needs to be replaced. In the last couple of years, staff has worked with design consultants to put together a design and bid package for the bridge's replacement. In 2022, we applied and were granted $750,000 through the Oklahoma Development Finance Authority. And earlier this year, in January, we applied for additional financial aid through ODOT's Bridge Funding Formula Program. And at this point, I'm happy to say we were also selected for that funding. So this is a resolution of support and project agreement with ODOT for an additional $1 million for that bridge replacement. So what this agreement will do is effectively transition this project from a city project over to an ODOT project. ODOT will contribute $1 million, and then we'll contribute the balance over that $1 million point. Given that we have $750,000 from ODFA, we're hoping that the bid will come in somewhere close to $1.8 million, which is the engineer's estimate. and our local contribution will basically be limited to anything over 1.75 million plus the design expense. So, and for the most part, that we've already incurred that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next item. But worth mentioning, if accepted, this will slightly delay the project a little bit. ODOT will have to do an environmental study, a NEPA process. And so with that process, instead of bidding it in the first quarter of this calendar year, it's going to end up being in the third or fourth quarter of the same calendar year. So we'll delay the project a little bit, but it's $1 million towards the project. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions? More money's always good.
The environmental study, does that have the potential to impact any future costs with the bid, or is that basically to?
Well, we're certainly hopeful that the answer to that would be no, right? We won't know that for sure until the environmental study is done. We don't expect the NEPA to return anything, given that it's a replacement of an existing structure in an existing location, but can't ever rule out that they won't come back with something. So I don't anticipate anything. We're hopeful that the answer will be no, but until we get that study back, that hasn't been done. I just can't answer it really. So.
But I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but the study itself won't add an additional.
The study itself will not.
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry if I misunderstood.
Just if there were any unforeseen.
Right.
Thing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, ma'am. And city attorney is up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution approving a project funding agreement with the Oklahoma Department of Transportation for bridge and approaches over Shawnee Creek.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 7. We'll call the question.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Sehorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Motion passes 7-0. Item 8 is consideration of an engineering amendment to proposal with CEC Corporation for professional design services regarding bridge and roadway design and construction plans for East Main Street over Shawnee Creek. Mr. Barkheimer, it's all yours again.
Yes, sir. So this is fairly simple. Since the last item effectively made our bridge project an ODOT project, this item is basically to cover the effort for the design consultant to transition the project from a local city project into the ODOT standard bid package. So there are elements to the ODOT bid, summary sheets, NEPA pages, the contract changes from our standard format to ODOT standard format. The process is different. There's effort over the next 9 months to get it to ODOT bid for the design consultant. So this amendment is to cover that effort. Staff recommends approval of the item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. How about a motion?
Move to approve item 8.
I'll second.
Oh, hang on just a second. Did you have a question, Daniel?
No, I said move to approve that.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure you got to ask your question. So you had a motion. And you were second?
I'll second.
Okay, so Daniel and Mark. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 8. We'll call that question then.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels? I'm sorry. Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Sehorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item 9, consideration of an appeal of an administrative order regarding the demolition of the structure located at 623 Kickapoo Spur. And Seth, it's your night here, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Stuck with me again. So the commercial structure at 623 North Kickapoo Spur, what you guys probably know as the Cinderella Hotel, has been vacant for some time and has also been involved in several fires, including a recent fire structure that took place on December 21st, 2022. Following that fire, the structure was brought to a public nuisance administrative hearing on January 26, 2023, and the owner did appear at that hearing. The structure and the property are not being maintained, and the owner has not made an effort to clean, restore, or secure the property. The property has garnered public concerns regarding decreased safety and diminished property values of the neighborhood. Since May of 2020, there have been 97 emergency call dispatches to the address for trespassing, vandalism, or fire. City staff requested the denial of the appeal and the right to proceed with demolition. Worth noting, the chief building official and fire marshal are both in attendance tonight if you guys have specific questions about the structure, but other than that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Questions?
I think the same question I always have for the city attorney. Have you examined the order? Have you examined the order?
Notice has been examined and approved, and I would also note, as Mr. Parker did, the property owner was present at the hearing.
And do you find anything defective in the order?
No, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, anybody have a motion?
Excuse me, do I have
Yes.
the opportunity to speak on behalf of the owner?
That's
Public
up to
hearing?
the commission. It's not a public hearing, and as we've discussed before, any appeal is what's considered a de novo appeal, meaning that you're limited to the record that was presented at the administrative hearing in your consideration, but it's up to the commission as the deciding appellate body what you allow to occur.
Okay. Anybody?
Did you say the fire marshal's in attendance?
Yes, yes.
I mean, I think I would be in favor of letting him speak, but as the city attorney said, like, to the record.
Right.
For anything that was defective in the hearing.
Right.
Not adding further to the record.
Correct. Again, we've discussed before, it would not be proper to consider additional information.
So if he has a reason to believe the order is defective, I think we should hear it.
Do we vote on that? Would that be the proper thing?
No,
I mean, I don't have a problem with him.
You don't have to vote on it, Mr. Mayor. As chairman of the meeting, you can allow it.
I say, look, come on up. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm Steve Landes with Landes Engineering. I think I know most of you.
Yeah.
I'm actually here actually I found out I was going to ask to be here about 3 hours ago. I had that the owners are actually out of California, and I've worked with them actually just recently. First thing that started off on this right here, I'll just let you know they both had COVID. They were planning on coming and attending this meeting, and due to their situation, they were unable to make it. I think a little bit of that's described in the PowerPoint that they've provided. On behalf of my standpoint, what I was asked to do from their standpoint is to actually look at the structural integrity of the buildings that are there. In fact, Shannon Tarkington Harris and myself had done that. In the past, we'd started a little bit, we started back in January, and matter of fact, a building that's about a block or two here to the west, we were supposed to do it that day, and basically got about a third of the way through the structures, and were unable to complete the evaluation at that time, so we came back and finished it up later, of which I've got a written report. To actually kind of answer your questions, and I don't know exactly where this stands, but yes, the building is completely dilapidated.
My question is does the applicant find anything wrong with the order? I think that's the question we're asking, not...
Only thing I was asked to actually review is structurally, and the building is not structurally, the 4 buildings that exist on this property are all completely structurally sound at this time.
So you really can't speak to Commissioner Matthews' question?
Is the applicant claiming that the order is defective?
I honestly have never seen the order. I have no knowledge of that right there at all that I can speak on behalf of.
Okay.
I'm an engineer that actually looks at the structures, and we've evaluated it twice and looked through the actual structural integrity of the 4 independent buildings, and they are sound. Now, they look horrible and they really need to be managed or corrected, but I think they could be utilized. If given a certain amount of time, they could actually be demoed, removed, portions of it removed, and actually brought back to be utilized for institutional use apartments or different uses.
That was what was considered at the hearing, right?
Honestly, I was not part of that.
So what we're considering is whether the order from the hearing is defective.
So you really can't speak to that. And I mean, and this I mean, we can't.
I understand, and like I said, we've done this, matter of fact, we've all hung out in Cinderella over years, and have fond memories and positive and whatever. We just looked at the structures and kind of know what our evaluations were as far as soundness.
But there's really nothing else that you can speak to. Okay.
That was the only part that I would have to speak on.
Well, I appreciate that. No problem. Thank you so much. Okay, so anybody else got any questions or any other discussion at this point? If not, we would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, just so the record is
yes,
clear,
sir.
None of the information that was provided by Mr. Landy was contained in the record prior to tonight, and so it would not be proper for this board to consider that.
Right. Thank you.
Certainly not to denigrate his work.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yes, sir. Please, very quickly.
As a representative, could I ask for a deferral for 30 days to allow them to review it and look over it and further discuss it? If it's a short time period, basically the property is about a $2 billion structure potentially if it was rebuilt, and it's going away based off y'all's votes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So that's something that would have been discussed at that meeting. I mean, that's nothing we probably would discuss here, but.
No, I wouldn't think so. I mean, what's been provided in the packet that was published is what was discussed at the meeting.
Yeah. So I guess what we're looking for is a motion then on staff's recommendation. You sound like you have a question.
I can't get loaded on either one, but you know how to word a motion.
So my understanding, the motion would be to approve staff's recommendation, which is to deny the appeal. Or an option for a motion would be to approve staff's recommendation, which is denial of the appeal.
Correct. I mean, you guys can grant the appeal and deny the appeal.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation to deny the appeal.
I'll second.
Okay. So, Cammie and Darren. All righty.
To be clear, a yes vote is a no on the appeal.
Yes.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, no.
Yes, that's correct. It will uphold the administrative order and cause the structure to be demolished.
Okay. Everybody got that straight? All right. So we will call the question then. And I can see Lisa's frantically trying to get back in. No, you're good. You take your time. We'll make sure we do this right. Do everything right.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews? I did it again.
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. All righty, motion carries 7-0. Item 10, consideration or resolution of the City of Shawnee authorizing the application for American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, grant from Oklahoma Water Resources Board. And Mr. Foose is up.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Mayor and Commissioners, in 2022, the state of Oklahoma, through legislation, approved $9.9 million, just over that, of the state's ARPA funding to the City of Shawnee for the exclusive use for water and sewer infrastructure. The Oklahoma Water Resources Board is the state entity responsible for dispersing those funds and has chosen to introduce an administrative process that requires the city to submit a grant application to help ensure that the state and city comply with all federal guidelines related to the ARPA funding. The projects funded through this grant will address critical water and sewer infrastructure needs. The project is estimated to replace over 7,500 linear feet of sewer lines and more than 25,000 linear feet of water lines, and will have a direct benefit to 742 utility service connections. With that, staff recommends approval of the item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Pretty straightforward. How about a motion?
Move to approve the item.
Thank
I'll
you,
second.
sir. Alrighty, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 10, and you're up again, sir.
Mr. Mayor, a resolution of the City of Shawnee authorizing the application for American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, grant from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board.
Thank you, sir. Alrighty, time to vote.
Commissioner Eagles?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Sehorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. And passes 7-0. Item 11, consideration of an ordinance for the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, creating, amending, and repealing portions of Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations, adopting the 2018 International Building Code, 2020 National Electrical Code, 2018 International Fuel Gas Code, 2018 International Mechanical Code, 2018 International Plumbing Code, 2018 International Residential Code, 2018 Existing Building Code, repealing all sections in conflict therewith and providing for severability, and setting an effective date and replacing specific dollar amounts throughout the entire chapter with a reference to the city fee schedule. And Mr. Barkheimer is back up.
Yes, sir. So what this item is doing is updating our current building codes. So as you may know, we're currently regulated under the 2015 code cycle. And that's for all the codes that the mayor just read off, which is, again, the International Building Code, the National Electrical Code, International Fuel Gas Code, the International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, the International Residential Code, and the Existing Building Code. So in September of 2021, the Oklahoma Uniform Building Code Commission, or OUBCC, adopted the 2018 version of all those codes, with the exception of the National Electrical Code, where they adopted the 2020 version. So in September of 2022, the OUBCC finished the code update with the adoption of the IRC, or the International Residential Code. So at the end of 2022, the state has updated all their codes and are no longer operating on the 2015 code cycle. So to be up to date and in compliance with the state minimum codes, we need to now follow suit and adopt the same versions that they have. So again, as I stated in the staff memo, although adoption hopefully happens tonight, we are going to give an effective date of April 15th to allow time for any pending applications to utilize previous code standards and create an educational window for our contractor and development community. Also worth mentioning, staff has prepared some pretty lengthy documents outlining the significant changes between the 2015 version and what we're now hoping to adopt. Those documents will be available online through the application, permits, and inspections page. And then adding on to that a little bit, staff is currently working to schedule and get on the agenda for a Home Builders Association meeting to lead a discussion on those changes in the new code cycle. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have. And also, again, Kevin is here, Chief Code Official, if you have any questions.
Anybody got questions?
I know we put the effective date out to April 15th, but I know one of the questions we'll get is how this affects projects in progress.
Yeah, so any projects that were already permitted will be regulated under their the code at the time of the permit. So they'll still stay under the 2015 cycle, and all projects permitted prior to April 15th will also be under that 2015 window.
Just want to be real clear for folks.
Yep.
Any other questions? If not, we'd entertain a motion.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve item 11.
I'll second.
And Cammie. righty, we have a motion and a second. So you are up again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, creating, amending, and repealing portions of Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations, adopting the 2018 International Building Code, 2020 National Electric Code, 2018 International Fuel Gas Code, 2018 International Mechanical Code, 2018 International Plumbing Code, 2018 International Residential Code, 2018 Existing Building Code, repealing all sections in conflict therewith and providing for severability, setting an effective date, and replacing specific dollar fee amounts throughout the entire chapter with a reference to the city fee schedule.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 11. We'll call the question.
Commissioner Engel?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaborn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. And it says 6-0. I think I counted all 7 though when I heard them go. There we go. Motion did pass 7-0. Bless you. Item 12, consideration of a resolution of the City of Shawnee updating the city fee schedule by amending portions of Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations. And Mr. Barkheimer,
Yeah, one
all
more
yours.
time. So this resolution establishes the new fee set at the end of that last ordinance. So it establishes the new fee for inspections required in the new International Mechanical Code, but otherwise our fee schedule for Chapter 7 stays the same as the 2015 code cycle. Staff does recommend approval of the item, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? How about a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, so Cammie and Mark then. All righty, and you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, amending portions of Chapter 7, Buildings and Building Regulations.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 12. We'll call the question.
Commissioner Engels?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaborn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. And motion passes 7-0. Item 13, consideration of an ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, creating, amending, and repealing portions of Chapter 13, Fire Prevention and Protection, adopting the 2018 International Fire Code, repealing all sections in conflict therewith, and providing for severability, setting an effective date, and replacing specific dollar fee amounts throughout the entire chapter with a reference to the city fee schedule. And we have our fire marshal this evening. How are you, sir?
Good, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm James Cromonic, Fire Marshal. This ordinance presented to you this evening to adopt the International Fire Code will bring us into compliance with the minimum state requirements as adopted, and as Mr. Barkheimer stated previously, the previous adoption that we're currently running on is the 2015 International Fire Code, and this will bring us up to state compliance. The staff approves of this item, and I'd be happy to answer any questions for you at this time.
All righty, thank you, sir. Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Cammie and Travis. Okey-doke, we have a motion and a second, so you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, creating, amending, and repealing portions of Chapter 13, Fire Prevention and Protection, adopting the 2018 International Fire Code, repealing all sections in conflict therewith, and providing for severability, setting an effective date, and replacing specific dollar fee amounts throughout the entire chapter with a reference to the city fee schedule.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 13. We'll call the question.
Commissioner Engels?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seaborn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. 14, consideration of a resolution of the City of Shawnee updating the city fee schedule by amending portions of Chapter 13, Fire and Fire Prevention. And Mr. Karwanik is up again.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This fee schedule changes in this resolution will assist in bringing us closer to the industry standard for plans, reviews, and permits. We'll have 6 items that are affected, and staff approves of this. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? How about a motion?
Move to approve item 14.
Thank you,
second.
sir. All righty, Joe is up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the City of Shawnee, Oklahoma, updating the city fee schedule by amending portions of Chapter 13, Fire Prevention and Protection.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 14. We'll call the question.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. And motion passes 7-0. Item 15, consideration of resolution authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the Shawnee Municipal Authority, specifically adding 0.5% of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of a sales tax agreement and containing other provisions related thereto. Mr. Foose, you are up again, sir.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, as you'll recall, on January 10th, 2023, the Shawnee voters approved a 0.5% sales tax for uses including water, wastewater, and roadway infrastructure, as well as debt service obligations associated with those capital improvement projects. This resolution authorizes the pledging of the 0.5% sales tax as collateral for all existing loans held with the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. The impetus of this item was the wastewater treatment plant project, which encompasses over $117 million in critical public infrastructure improvements. The last loan associated with that project totaled approximately $65.6 million and required the enactment of the utility improvement fee to satisfy the debt service requirements. With the approval of the sales tax by the voters, the debt service coverage requirement can now be satisfied with the sales tax, and the utility improvement fee can be rescinded. This item specifically authorizes the Shawnee Municipal Authority to modify the security pledge as described. With that, staff recommends approval of the item, and we're happy to answer any questions. We also have Alan Brooks, the City Bond Counsel, available.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? I know we've talked about this for a minute or two. Anyone have a motion?
Move to approve item 15.
Thank
I'll
you, sir.
second.
Daniel and Cammie. All righty, Joe's up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the Shawnee Municipal Authority, specifically adding 0.5% of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of a sales tax agreement, and containing other provisions related thereto.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 15. We will call the question.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. That takes us to item 16, consideration of an ordinance repealing portions of the Shawnee Municipal Code, Chapter 26, Utilities, by repealing a utility improvement fee established by ordinance number 2770 NS and providing for repeal, providing for codification, providing for severability, and declaring an emergency. And Mr. Foose is up one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. It's always exciting to be able to repeal a fee. With the approval of the previous agenda item to exchange the utility improvement fee with the 0.5% sales tax as collateral for all existing loans held with OWRB, the utility improvement fee can now be rescinded. The timing of this action will ensure that no utility customer is charged the utility improvement fee. With that, staff recommends approval of the item and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? How about a motion?
Move to approve item 16.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. And our city attorney is up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance repealing portions of the Shawnee Municipal Code, Chapter 26, Utilities, by repealing a utility improvement fee established by ordinance number 2770 NS, and providing for repeal, providing for codification, and providing for severability, and declaring an emergency.
Alrighty, thank you very much. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 16. We'll call that question.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seymour?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to add an emergency clause to item 16.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. And Mark, we have a motion and a second for the emergency clause for approval, so we'll call that question.
I'm going to be a little slow on
That's okay. Everything's going to work a little slow tonight, I have a hunch. You just take your time.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Switched it up.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seymour?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
And we don't have that pop up on here, so.
But if I counted
That was-
right, it passed 7-0.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty. Item 17, consideration of a resolution updating the city fee schedule by removing the monthly rate of the utility improvement fee pursuant to Chapter 26, Article 2, Section 26 through 30 of the City Code, and providing for the readoption of the city fee schedule in a whole. Mr. Foose, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. With the approval of the previous agenda item to rescind the utility improvement fee by ordinance, the city fee schedule can now be amended by resolution to reflect the elimination of the fee. With that, staff recommends approval of the item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I don't imagine we have. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve item 17.
Second.
All righty. And Joe is up again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution updating the city fee schedule by removing the monthly rate of the utility improvement fee pursuant to Chapter 26, Article 2, Section 26-30 of the City Code, and providing for the readoption of the city fee schedule in whole.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 17. We'll call the question.
Commissioner Ingalls?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seymour?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. And motion passed 7-0. Item 18. Public hearing and consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located northwest of the intersection of North Harrison and Garrett's Lake Road, containing approximately 1.7168 acres from A1 Rural Agricultural District to C3 Automotive Commercial District. Case number RZ02-23. Applicant is John Silver. And we have Mr. Harkins. How are you, sir?
Good. To paraphrase Monty Python, now for something completely different. This is a rezoning request, as noted, for a 1.71 acre tract to go from A1 to C3. It's on the northeast quadrant of the community. The applicant is looking at demolishing the existing single-family residence in order to build a Dollar General store at this location. Staff, after review, recommended to Planning Commission approval of the item. Based on the findings and facts listed in the staff report, the Planning Commission's recommendation to you was to approve the item as noted on a 5-0 vote. Staff would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions? I'm looking through, so I'll give them a minute.
The applicant is also here to answer any questions you might have as well.
Okay, very good. Anybody got any questions for Ryan while we got him there? If not, we'll open the public hearing. We good? Okay, so we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor? How are you, sir?
I'm actually the applicant.
Okay.
I'm John Silver. I'm the project manager for DJD Development. We are not Dollar General. This is a family-owned construction company based in El Reno. This is what I do, is I build Dollar Generals in Oklahoma. This particular project fits in with our normal pattern. We are in permit process right now with your planning department. Tomorrow I'll be sending back revised plans answering their first comments. We are also in a variance process that will come up on the 16th of March, and then after that I anticipate being able to get my permit. We are in the process of extending the water line that runs on the north side of Garrett's Lake. We're not in the process, we haven't begun, but we'll start soon, about the first of the month. It'll extend across Highway 18 to the west side of our property, adding a fire hydrant, water meters, those type of things. This is just a process of rezoning it to fit what we need to do, and we believe that it'll be a benefit to that area. I answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the gentleman? I don't see any. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? And seeing none, then we will close the public hearing. Any other questions or discussion up here? How about a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a second? I will offer the second. So we have a motion and a second, and you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. An ordinance concerning the zoning classification of the following described property located within the corporate limits of the city of Shawnee, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, to wit, a tract of land being a portion of the southeast quarter of Section 19, Township 11, Range 4 of the Indian Meridian, east of the Indian Meridian, Pottawatomie County, Oklahoma, more particularly described as follows. Commencing at the southeast corner of the southeast quarter of Section 19, then south 89 degrees, 25 minutes, 31 seconds west along the south line of said Section 19, a distance of 78 feet to the point of beginning. Thence continuing south 89 degrees, 25 minutes, 31 seconds west, south line of said Section 19, a distance of 272 feet. Thence north 0 degrees, 40 minutes, 4 seconds west, a distance of 275 feet. Thence north 89 degrees, 25 minutes, 31 seconds east, a distance of 271.86 feet to the west right-of-way line of said Harrison Street, open parenthetical, State Highway 18, close parenthetical. Thence south 0 degrees, 41 minutes, 48 seconds east along said right-of-way line, a distance of 275 feet to the point of beginning. Said tract of land contains an area of 74,782 square feet, or 1.716 acres, more or less. The bearing of south 89 degrees, 25 minutes, 31 seconds west, as shown on the south line of the southeast quarter of Section 19, was used as the basis of bearing for this survey. The bearings shown hereon are based upon State Plane North Zone, which was used as the basis of the bearing for this survey. from zoning classification A1 Rural Agricultural District to C3 Highway Commercial District, amending the official zoning map of the city of Shawnee accordingly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 18. So we will call the question.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. We are to item 19, consideration of the following budget amendments for fiscal year 2022 to 2023. We have, looks like we have one, and Ms. McNabb Fox is up. We have one for the shortfall in the Expo Center with sales tax revenues exceeding budget estimates, it looks like.
Yes, sir.
All yours.
This evening, I'm presenting a budget amendment for your consideration totaling $525,000 for the general fund. This budget amendment is needed to cover a budget shortfall in the Expo Center budget. At the time of the formulation of the FY22-23 budget, the city was presented with a budget for the Expo Center that was based on estimate values and not historical expenses. As stated in the contract with OVG 360, the managing company of the Expo, the city's provided with monthly financial statements. After receiving several months of financial statements, the city determined that the approved budget would be insufficient to cover actual expenses. This additional appropriation will be funded by sales tax collections that are exceeding budget estimates for the general fund. Frank Abbott, the general manager of the Expo Center, is also here, and he's going to talk about the operations at the Expo.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
If y'all have any questions for me before he comes up, I'll be glad to answer anything, or we can.
Do you have any questions for Lindsay before Frank speaks?
I can ask after. After it's fine.
No. Okay. How are you, sir?
Commissioners, Mayor. I'm here to address some of the things moving forward about the budget. The budget this year will be based on historical numbers. For example, utilities, it's not an estimate, it's actual real numbers that we'll be utilizing. My staff now is all staff that's in place. When I started there was 12 people. It's currently cut back to 6. I'm on part-time. We've implemented a lot of new policies and procedures. For example, RVs. Our RVs used to be $25, they're $35 a night. Anything we've done is based on market rate for examples of what we do in our area. Price structure on equine shows, stall pricing reflects market rates. We currently sell shavings. Historically, we did not. Tables and chairs are now priced in for new bookings. Historically, they hadn't been. The other thing I think that makes a big difference is we are very diligent on our daily closing procedures. The lights are off, AC's off, the heat's off. So I think we've implemented a lot of things to bring the funding down, and then we're doing some things to some other larger things to also bring funding down. A lighting retrofit is being looked at right now. Currently, the engineers are going over the HVAC, the wattage that we use, and so on and so forth. So that's going to implement. Implementing that will change quite a bit of the funding that we do. Also, some of the larger bills that we have now, Vive, I should say, internet. We brought them in. Currently, they're a $3,000 bill, and I just, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out what we were spending $3,000. So we brought them in. Their engineers are going out, doing some options for cutting back expenses and so on and so forth. We've landed some other shows at a higher price point for the third and fourth quarters of 2024. Texhoma Junior Rodeo Finals, IPRA Regional Finals Rodeo, which are some big ones. So I think we're on a good path moving forward. I think we've gained a lot of control over what had been done in the last physical. So I'm happy with where we're at in the first 6 months I've been here. We've got a long way to go, but I'm happy where we're at.
Okay. questions?
Touched on a little bit. Obviously, I think we appreciate your effort and getting the budget in line and cutting cost. I think it's a two-pronged, and you talked about it, bringing cost down, but also we need to bring revenue in. Can you expound a little more on that, the efforts that you're making? You said you booked a couple big ones, which is great.
Yes, sir.
But how we're expanding our presence to bring revenue in, because it's not just about cutting.
In doing what we do, a lot of the things that I have on the books now are still going to be on, that were booked a year or a year and a half ago, are still going to be there in the next 12, 14 months. There's not a lot I can do with things that are currently under contract. But as I was saying, in the things that we're currently booking, some of the smaller things that we're putting inside these puzzle pieces as we move forward for this physical and certainly for 23, 24 is tables. Tables are now not included. There were so many things that were included when you rented, say, for example, the convention center. Tables and chairs were free. If it costs me labor to put tables and chairs out, I need to recoup that. There are a lot of events that we do where we would spend $5,000 to make $2,000. Those events I certainly won't rebook. I mean, we are a business at the Expo Center. And if it's not run like a business, we will continue to spiral down that hole that we have for, it seems like a number of years now. So yes, implementing new policies, procedures, raising rates, and not just raising them because we're raising them to market value. I think we'll be able to capture a lot of the money that we had. Historically, they never charged RVs at equine shows. If you weren't in an RV spot and you were there for the moto show or outlaw sprint cars, which we just had, you didn't get charged for an RV spot. The first weekend I implemented that, I grasped $4,500 in one weekend charging RVs at a show. And historically, that hadn't been done. So I think it's not going to be one big change. It's a lot of small pieces that'll make it work.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Don't see any. Any for Lindsay while we've got her still? No, just make sure there was some, if there was some questions I have for either one of you.
I have some for Ms. McNabb-Fox or a couple.
Yes, sir.
Historically, we've had to make amendments like this. Can you talk about our past shortcomings, and then like when we've made budget amendments to cover losses? This isn't a new phenomenon. It's maybe, and then maybe your finance director opinion on, clearly we're making some management decisions that hopefully should improve the bottom line, but also how maybe that bottom line, in your opinion, was affected by inflation we experienced in cost. Like, is the cost higher completely because of management, or how much? I guess I'm asking you to estimate, like, how much of it is inflationary and.
Well, there's several factors that go into the Expo's operating budget. Of course, revenue coming in. If expenses, you have, of course, direct costs that, or the indirect costs, overhead and whatnot, that are going to be there regardless if you have an event or not. So, you know, you have electricity and all the utilities that go into that, that are going to be there regardless if you're bringing revenue in. So I think Mr. Abbott and I started on the exact same day, and I think some of the revenues for those probably first 3 or 4 months were probably not coming in the way that, you know, he's doing it now, and so it's causing that, you know, those indirect costs to still be there without the revenue to support them. And I couldn't really say whether or not, you know, what aspect of this is inflation versus just management. the expo. I think Mr. Abbott's doing an excellent job going forward. Unfortunately, with the budget that we were given, or city management was given at the time, there was just not a very good handle on the management, and the shortfall. Basically, the city subsidizes whatever expenses are not, meeting revenues. And so with that presented to us, it just was not going to meet the budget expectations. And certainly we are not, I don't want this in any way to seem like we are just giving them a blank check of $525,000. This is to give us that budget authority in order to make sure that we have that authority if we need it. I mean, we will need a good portion of it, but we will, closely monitor the next several months and, make sure that those expenses and revenues are going to be coming in. So I couldn't really speak to inflation. I know that probably has a lot to do with it, but yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't really speak to that. I know the cost of food, and just in my personal, everybody knows cost of food. That's a lot of their business with concessions and whatnot, and I'm sure that has a lot to do with it as well.
And then I guess my last one would be to Madam City Manager. Have we, to the extent that we can, expressed our gratitude for the work of Mr. Abbott, but our complete dissatisfaction with the state he was left to clean up? And
I certainly have. Frank Abbott stepped into a particularly difficult situation, and having done all of these things in the past 6 months, speak to his expertise in managing a livestock expo. Livestock expos are different from other major event centers, very different, and it takes somebody with livestock expo experience to actually run those appropriately. So yes.
And we've expressed our opinion that it was inappropriately handled previously.
We have done so as well.
And have we, or are we continuing to explore all of our options?
We will certainly take that prerogative. We have a little less than 1.5 years left on this particular management agreement.
Thank you.
I know that Mr. Abbott and our finance director, even city manager, are all relatively new, especially you two. And a general question for either of you. Have we implemented any more methods of checks and balances from our end to prevent management at the expo, even though Mr. Abbott truly seems to be doing an excellent job in shoring up inadequacies of the past? Do we have more checks and balances in place now, more systems, or just how can we prevent this moving forward?
Go ahead. I'll gladly speak to that question. We are bound by our management agreement, which sets out monthly deliverables of financials. We are expecting those monthly financials to come to us. There was a time, and that was before Mr. Frank Abbott, when those did not come to the city as agreed to per the management agreement. Now, the one thing that those monthly financials would not have helped us with is the lack of expertise of the prior general manager in terms of livestock expos. So even if we had received those financials, not bringing in the revenues, not adjusting it to market prices elsewhere, that would not have been possible without Frank on board. So yes, those checks and balances are in place, but that does not replace the expertise that we would have needed at that location at that time. which we do have now.
Any other questions? Does anyone have a motion?
I'll move to approve item 19.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 19. And we will call the question.
Commissioner Enos?
Yes.
Commissioner Flood?
Yes.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Richter?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rutherford?
Yes.
Commissioner Seahorn?
Yes.
Mayor Bolt?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item 20 is acknowledge the monthly sales tax report, and Ms. McNabb Fox is up again.
Hello. So the sales tax for February totaled $2,398,036, which includes $1,984 in interest. This is distributed across 7 funds with $1.3 million in the general fund. These collections are 7.6% over budget projections for the month and 1% over February of last year. Year to date, we are 13.1% ahead of budget projections and 5.4% over this same time last year. Use tax for February totaled $347,793, which is a 1.6% decrease from February last year and a 3.1% increase over budget projections. Year-to-date collections are 5.7% above this same time last year. The general fund is currently $1.27 million above budget projections when you combine the sales and use tax. We have appropriated $618,000 of that to date, plus the $525,000 approved in the previous item, leaving a balance unappropriated of $128,062.
Very good. Any questions? Overall, a very good report, it sounds like.
Yes, it's in the positive direction.
Yeah, any questions? I guess not. Okay, so I can see it's almost about 8 o'clock. So how about we take about 5 minutes and then we can come back. right, where are we at? We are at item 21, administrative reports. So it's like we have 1, 2, 3. So item A is proposed charter amendments 2023. And looks like Mr. Vondran and Andrea are going to handle that one for us. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I'm going to lead off and save the best for last with the city manager. I'm going to hit you guys with a brief overview of 7 proposed charter amendments. And then Andrea will go through the process and procedure and timing of vote on those items, should the commission choose to put those to some or all of them to a vote of the people. I'll lead with what has been a common topic, and that is ward-specific voting. So at the request of multiple citizens and multiple commissioners heeding the concerns and requests of those citizens, we have developed a charter amendment that would allow for ward-specific voting. As a brief backdrop for the commission as we look at each of these, we would be putting each and every one of them, because they are charter provisions, to a vote of the people. So the vote of this body would be to put these to a vote of the people, not to pass them yourselves. But this specific charter amendment pertains to changing the election of city commissioners from an at-large electorate to the qualified voters residing within that specific ward only. The mayor would still be elected at large by the full electorate of the city. It amends 2 specific provisions of the charter, that being Article 3, Section 2, and, oh man, now I gotta get my Roman numerals correct. Article 14, Section 3, and Section 5. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have with regard to this particular proposition.
Do we have questions on this one? I think it's pretty straightforward. I think we're good, sir.
All right. The next proposition that staff would bring for consideration would be our charter provisions relating to competitive bidding. The amendment pertains to the repeal of competitive bidding provisions contained with the charter to be replaced with the language that the city shall abide by Oklahoma statutory competitive bidding requirements. This amends 1 section, which is, excuse me, Article 15, Section 2. The reasoning is to avoid conflict with state law pertaining to this topic. The section will be repealed and replaced with a general statement that the city will abide by state law. For a little bit of color on this, we already abide by state law, and the existing charter provision requires that we follow state law. Our charter provision, however, deviates with some specificity on how we open bids, which is different and more restrictive than what state law requires. In addition, it is not what most municipalities utilize as best practices. That hasn't created any issues for us from the standpoint that we're not following anything correctly. What it does is it creates some confusion and a lack of uniformity for bidders. And so we're trying to reduce that. Plus, in the event that the state law changes, this is an area where state law would prevail. And we want to be consistent with that at all times so that we have proper guidance through Attorney General opinions and other opinions that courts of competent jurisdiction in the state of Oklahoma may hand down. Any questions with regard to this particular provision?
I've got questions. I think we're good.
All right. The next one relates to the swearing in of mayor and commissioners. It pertains to the timing of the swearing in of mayor and commissioners to comport with the change from a regularly scheduled bi-monthly meeting to monthly meetings of the Board of Commissioners. This amends Article 3, Section 4 and Section 6. And the reasoning, and this was pointed out by Mr. Morris at a meeting, the existing language regarding the swearing in of the mayor and commissioners conflicts with other provisions and creates timing issues with the terms of the elected officials. Again, this is created by going from 2 meetings a month to 1 meeting a month. This clarifies the language, and the proposed amendment will also allow for a change back if that is something that occurs, to go back to 2 monthly meetings. We won't have the same type of conflict. Any questions with relation to this?
Everybody good? I think we're ready to move on.
All right. The next item relates to the qualification of city employees and pertains to the repeal of a residency and citizenship qualification requirement for city employees to create consistency with state and federal laws. This amends Article 5, Section 8. And again, just to avoid any potential conflict with state and federal laws pertaining to this topic, we're seeking an appeal of the section as a whole. As you may or may not know, employment law is a constantly evolving sector, and some of these restrictions would likely, that exist in the charter, would likely be preempted if ever challenged, and to allow for us to evolve with state and federal law with regard to this, we believe that it is prudent to repeal this section that has requirements that could create issue. Any questions with regard to that?
Any questions? Nope, I think we're good.
All right. Next one is the conflict of interest policy for commissioners, city employees, and officers. It pertains to the repeal of conflict of interest policy contained within the charter to be replaced with language that the city shall abide by the Oklahoma statutory conflict of interest policy for commissioners, city employees, and city officers. This particular amendment would amend Article, Article 16, Section 1. And the reasoning is to avoid conflict with state law pertaining to the topic. This section will be removed and replaced with a general statement that the city will abide by state law. Again, here we have, it's very similar to the competitive bidding proposal. The charter provision comports with state law, but has slight distinctions that make it difficult to analyze in very specific situations, whereas the state law, if it were ever to change, we would be in compliance there, and it would create clarity in interpretation because we have robust attorney general opinions and other court cases that give us direction when we're analyzing any issues that may arise with regard to conflict of interest. Any questions, concerns there? All right.
We're good.
Moving on, the next proposed amendment would be with relation to the Twin Lakes regulation. We have a singular section currently within the charter relating to the Twin Lakes. This pertains to the repeal of that specific section specifically because the identical provision is addressed in city ordinance. It does amend Article 9, Section 1, and the reason is to remove that duplication and then potential conflict with city ordinances and resolutions moving forward. The thought process here is a repeal of this item would not change the existing law in Shawnee with regard to activities to be conducted on Lake 2 because the existing ordinance mirrors the language in the charter provision. It would also create flexibility as we move forward with a lake master plan and our ability to implement recommendations that are brought about as a result thereof. Any questions with regard to this proposal?
Everybody good? I think we're good.
All right. The exciting ones were early. These are a little more housekeeping. Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund. This proposal pertains to the repeal of the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund provision contained within the charter to be replaced with language that the city shall abide by the Oklahoma statutory Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund requirements. Amending Article 12, Section 6B. The reasoning is to avoid conflict with state law pertaining to this topic. The proposition will be repealed and replaced with a general statement that the city will abide by state law. In this particular situation, the charter is more restrictive than what state law is as to the deployment of these dollars. Specifically, our charter only allows for the city to spend interest from the perpetual care fund for the maintenance at the cemetery. State law does not restrict it to interest only. The corpus or body of the fund can be utilized. In this particular situation, at its current levels, it renders the perpetual care fund somewhat impotent because there's not enough interest to make a dent. But there are projects that can be utilized with the fund itself, not just the interest generated by the fund. And again, it would eliminate any confusion that may exist with existing state law as well. With that, I will turn it over to Andrea to answer any questions you might have and give an outline of timing and procedure for a potential vote.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So Joe presented those. I know that the ward-specific voting had been discussed multiple times. We wanted to make sure that we get all of this information in front of the City Commission as we move forward through this process, because we know that even though this could go to a vote of the people in June, if we bring it back to the City Commission in March for a resolution to hold a special election, any charter change will have to be approved by the governor. So the gubernatorial approval is required to make those charter changes effective. If the ward-specific voting, for example, was to be in place for the next City Commission election, we only have a year within which we can receive the gubernatorial approval thereof and put everything in its place to actually have that happen. So again, we will be bringing that item back to you for the official consideration of the approval of a special election in March. Then the vote itself, the special election, can be held in June. All of the information thereafter will be sent to the governor for his approval, and then only once we receive that gubernatorial approval back can we then implement those changes. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody got any questions? I think that normal election day is usually like towards the end of June, I believe.
Middle of June, I think it was June 12th, if I remember correctly.
I mean, it's not important. I mean, that's
Yeah.
months away. But. Any other questions? So I guess we'll see this next month then.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Second one here, item B, is request portal and citizen engagement, and Seth is up again. How are
Yes,
you,
sir.
Pretty good.
So first off, thanks for the opportunity to speak a little bit about citizen engagement and our new request portal. I know that the city manager has mentioned this a couple of times, and it's an exciting step for staff. I'm hopeful that it will become a nice communication tool for the community and a way of promoting transparency and accountability within City Hall. So with that, let's take a look. So this is just a quick reminder of what our previous Citizen Request Center looked like. It's linked, or was linked, on the homepage of the city's website, as you can see in that left image. The right image is the entirety of the old Citizen Request Center. It gave an option to send a message to you all through your commissioner emails, as well as city leadership, specifically the city manager's office and a couple of department heads. This system was used, but really not at volume. I think it wasn't an effective communication tool. In my 3 years with the city, I think I've received less than 10 emails from this system. So, and our ability to communicate back to the citizen was very limited. And it was difficult for a citizen to track any incident that they reported through the system. So worth mentioning, our new portal will be accessed the exact same way. So it's linked on the city's homepage through that link that you see on the left side of the screen there. And if you're on a mobile device, you will have to swipe over, because the link that's visible on the mobile device is the Pay My Bill. It's the first link visible on the left-hand side. So you'll have to swipe to the right to get over to the Citizen Request Help Center. But let's take a look at the new portal. So this is a screen grab of the new portal homepage. And I would just like to emphasize that this isn't replacing any of the other reporting mechanisms. You can still call the Action Center, call Public Works, call the City Manager's Office. This is really meant to be an additional option for people to report issues. So near the middle of the picture at the top, you'll see 3 clickable boxes or links, which are the primary features of the portal. Each one of these have their own slide where I'll talk a little bit more in detail about each one, but the 3 are generally contact city leadership, report infrastructure issue, and notify code enforcement. As you can see at the bottom, there's also a frequently asked questions and a link to the city's social media that will update as we post on Facebook. And we'll talk a little bit more about the frequently asked questions section here in a little bit. But let's look at the 3 primary links. So the first one is contact city leadership. So as I said earlier, this was really the sole function of the old Citizen Request Center. We didn't really want to remove that functionality, but we wanted to expand on it. So this first page, if you scroll down, you would see, as you can kind of see in the images there, you'll see each of the city manager's office leadership positions and a link to each one of you. If you click that contact link, it'll automate an email to you guys for your current email address. So also at the bottom of this page, there's a link to the department head directory. So if they're wanting to reach out to somebody in the department head team, they're able to get that email, phone number, etc. Off of that directory page. So one more thing, because it isn't pictured here, at the bottom of this page, there's a ward map. So if a citizen doesn't know who their commissioner is, but they have something they need to speak to you guys about, all you have to do is plug in their address or click somewhere, navigate and click somewhere on the map, and it'll tell you which ward you're in and which commissioner you should reach out to. So that's kind of the end of the contact city leadership page, and I'll move on to number 2, which is report infrastructure issue. So this page, in my opinion, of course, is a really huge step forward. It's a way for you all and citizens or whoever wants to help communicate with public works staff in identifying issues or concerns with city infrastructure. So as you can see at the bottom left, this page is meant for reporting anything to do with roads, bridges, traffic signs, signals, parks and recreation issues, utilities, drainage, etc. So I'll go ahead and move to the next slide and talk a little bit about functionality. So this is the same page, but if you scroll down from this point, you'll see a survey that looks something like this. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see an expandable form where you can fill out the report on any issue for city infrastructure. So you fill in a very brief description of the issue, you add some contact information, attach an image if you can, geolocated on the map so we know where the issue is. We assume that a majority of these issues will be input from phone, mobile device. So that functionality of being geolocated from your phone is built in. So if you have your location settings turned on, it'll auto geolocate. If you have it turned off, you can navigate there and place a pin. Either way, you can geolocate the issue that you're trying to report. Let's work through a hypothetical. So on your drive home, you notice a pothole right by your driveway. You go to the report and you fill out that's a street issue. You add your contact info, snap a picture, pick a location, click submit. Once you submit the report, it will populate on the map as a streets and stormwater issue. So that 0 you see on the left-hand side there would become a 1. This reporting system is actually fully integrated with our CityWorks system. So when the report is submitted, a CityWorks service request is auto-generated and automatically sent to Public Works. Public Works would verify the issue, so whether that's by sending out somebody to look at the issue in person, or they can do that from a desktop by looking at the image that you submitted or whatever, they would verify that issue, and from that point they would either close it out or they would move on to a work order to fix the issue. So talking a little bit about accountability and follow through, this map would show 3 different types of reports. It would be pending, open, and completed. So when you complete a report, if you give it about 30 seconds or just refresh your page, it'll show up on the map as pending. When the issue has been verified by Public Works staff, that issue would move from pending to open. And once the work order is completed, the notification on the map will transition from open to completed. So, and after a certain period of time, after the completed stuff, we'll pull those completed issues off of the map. That way we don't end up with a map full of completed issues. So, worth mentioning again, though, is that all of this is automated. So the map isn't being manually edited and added by city staff. It's all ran through our CityWorks system. If a report is submitted for an issue outside of the city's control, so for instance, a pothole on a road outside of city limits, maybe it's a report on a franchise utility, something that the city doesn't control, the proper information on who to contact, such as the county commissioner for that district, or whatever it may be, will be sent and back to the respondent, and it'll be marked as completed in the system. So also worth mentioning, if you submit a report and in the contact information section you submit an email, you'll be automatically notified when that report has a status change. So when it removes from a service request to a work order, you'll get an email, and when it moves from a work order to completed, you'll get another email. So there really is an intentional effort to follow up on reported issues. So let's talk about the third and final link. So similar to the infrastructure page, this is intended to provide an additional option for what you guys probably know as the Action Center. Historically, the Action Center has been, by phone call, and that's certainly something that we expect to continue. We're not trying to curb that, but this is just adding another option, and we're opening that up to online reporting as well. Just like infrastructure, if you scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll see this survey system or report system. It'll work almost identically to the infrastructure form. So you fill out the form, code enforcement verifies the reported issue, opens a case. That issue is hopefully resolved by the owner action. And again, you have the pending, open, and completed issues populated on the map. So one thing I'd point out, and this is for both infrastructure and code enforcement, is that this is for reports received from citizens, right? So we'll have open work orders and code enforcement cases that are initiated by staff internally, and those issues will not be populated on the map, but that effort is still happening. So I point that out because when you first get on this and look at it, you're going to see 0 issues, right, on both scenarios. That doesn't mean that we don't have any potholes or we don't have any code enforcement cases going. That just means that this is the viewable data set that the public has reported. So with that, let's talk a little bit more about frequently asked questions. I talked earlier about this list growing. My expectation is that it will continue to grow, at least initially. So first and foremost, if you need to report an emergency, dial 911. This system is not meant for emergency response. So I just want to say that. Beyond that, I think the frequently asked questions are pretty straightforward. Who do you contact about trash pickup issues? That's still central disposal. If you have street light issues, we're still doing that reporting through OG&E. If you have an animal control issue, you still call animal control. Who do you contact about open records? That's still Lisa. So some of that is still built in as it is currently. Okay, so moving on to the community survey. At the last City Commission meeting, staff provided an overview of the upcoming community survey. This evening's update is to announce the completion of the survey materials. In the upcoming weeks, the city will focus on public education and outreach about the importance of the community survey in tandem with the ETC Institute distributing the survey. So as a reminder, the survey will be mailed out with a target of receiving 400 household responses that accurately represent the demographics of Shawnee, and the survey results will play a vital role in the development of the City of Shawnee's next 5-year strategic plan. So with that, let's talk about a couple of questions. If a resident would like to complete a survey but is not among the randomly selected households to receive an invitation, can they still fill out the online survey? So to ensure a truly representative survey, residents not in the randomly selected group can fill out a survey, but those responses will not be included in the finding reports and survey data. If ETC receives a lot of surveys, not in the random sample, it was discussed with the ETC to potentially develop a separate attachment. Furthermore, the responses to open-ended comments could be included with other survey responses that are received. If completed surveys are submitted beyond those directly requested, how will ETC Institute handle them? What impact would they have on the survey results? So scenario one, neighbor prints off a copy of the survey and gives it to their neighbors. So they both mail in responses, right? ETC has put in place quality assurance measures to prevent issues like the one outlined. All survey requests are addressed based on the track that way. Only surveys from the addresses selected for the random survey will be included, and if more random surveys will be included, if one survey is submitted for a particular address, only the first one is selected. So if you have a husband and a wife who fill out a survey, the first one in is the one that will be used. What measures are in place to ensure the statistical validity of the survey results? When the random sample is developed, the address-based approach allows ETC to control the responses as stated before. This also ensures that the responses are all from within the city boundaries. Furthermore, ETC will be able to check against U.S. Census data for the appropriate geographical demographic dispersion across the community. So what level will the final accuracy results have? The results from a random sample of no less than 400 completed surveys will provide data that has a precision of at least plus or minus 5% at the 95% level of confidence. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. If you have any questions about the survey, I will likely punt to the city manager.
Any questions? Are these portals live now?
They're up right now. Cool. So if you go tonight, they're up.
Very good.
If there, you know, there's a difference between an emergency, but then also after several of our very large rains that we had, there were some spots where some of our roads had washed away, and although it was not a physical emergency at that moment, if there were not somebody to address that, there could have been a severe property damage to somebody driving through one of those or something like that. And sometimes that stuff happens at night. And so how would somebody in this, through this portal, be able to not necessarily get bumped to the front of the line, but make sure that that was something that was seen and wasn't after hours, and somebody's not, if there's monitoring of this 24/7.
Right.
I
I mean, my suggestion would be, if there's any doubt, if it's an emergency report, then report it through the emergency channels, and dispatch can always get a hold of Public Works to have traffic come out there and set up traffic control devices for a washout like you're talking about. If there's any doubt of it being an emergency, go ahead and report it through that method. And if this is meant to be an addition, not a substitution. So, so it's for convenience, and you don't want to make a phone call, or it's the weekend and you don't think anybody will answer, you can still get that report in and get whatever needs to be done accounted for.
Fantastic. Good. Thank you. Any other questions? No? I think this is going to be really helpful. Yeah. It'll be nice if people track the progress on it. I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. All righty. Next up, Shawnee Police Department crime statistics, and we have Chief Wilson. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We'll see if we can get everybody woke up for a little bit, just in time to go home and go to bed.
Well, I heard they serve a mean breakfast here.
All right. So again, yes, Shawnee Police Department. We're going to talk about the actual crime statistics of the city of Shawnee. And we report our incidents to the OSBI, which is the cyber system, the state incident-based reporting system, and in return, they send that to the FBI, the NIBR system, which is the National Incident-Based Reporting System. They just recently, the FBI just changed over to the NIBR system, which kind of changed the way we reported. The OSBI and the FBI want everybody to remember, when you look at their statistics online, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. You cannot really compare one city to another city per se as apples to apples, just because the variation of population, because most of this is per 1,000 people. So as you get up into the higher 100,000, 200,000 people, there's some absorption of crime that you wouldn't see in a smaller city like Shawnee with 31,000 people. So the numbers kind of vary in that sense. There's also just the fact of, you know, what's going on as far as economics and prosecutorial activities, and even the way the police department works itself when they're dealing with crime, the different ways that they handle things. For one, the only thing that goes into these statistics are actually incidents, and by that I mean we actually have to write an incident report for that to even be recorded as an incident. So some jurisdictions, for whatever reason, the way they do business is they may write a ticket, which is basically write a citation and release, and they don't do an incident report. However, I can tell you the way we're doing it in Shawnee is even when we write those tickets for those smaller misdemeanors, we still do an incident report so we can track exactly what happened on that incident, and so we can report that incident and get a clear picture of everything that's occurring in Shawnee. So we may have more incidents that are reported into these systems because of that than other cities. There's just a lot of variables, and they just want to make sure that everybody understands that before you just look at the statistics and make a judgment call. As in 2018, we all know that there's news stories, there was social media, Shawnee, roughest town in Oklahoma, top 5 in the nation. We beat out Chicago, and I mean, it was horrific, the amount of crime going on. Well, that actually checks back to Ackerman Security, who sells security systems, and they did that report on Shawnee. And I can actually tell you that within months after them doing that report and getting it out on social media, they were also in our city soliciting alarm systems to our residents. So I'm not saying it was just for sales, but it's kind of interesting the way they use that information. Now, if we go to the actuals, in 2018, this is a pie chart that shows you things in Shawnee. As you can see, there's a slice of the pie there that is murder, that we had 2, rapes 28, robbery 27, felonious assaults 367, breaking and entering 409, larcenies 1,042, motor vehicle thefts 165, and arson 1. When we got this information, we started looking at what we were doing in Shawnee, and these numbers do look high. We don't like these numbers that we saw. But what we saw also was that our reporting system was over 20 years old, it was antiquated, and it was actually misclassifying some of the information we were putting in into more violent crimes. So we might have had someone who actually called someone a name and there was an assault report taken, and it actually showed up as a felonious assault. So like an assault with a weapon. So we started working on that and looking at new systems to start our reporting. And RMS, that's the records management software, that's what we're speaking of. It was outdated, as I said, and caused several of the crimes to be misclassified. So 2019, if you look at it, we got 1 murder, 25 rapes, and you can kind of see as we go on. And you can see that some of these areas dropped. Well, we haven't changed out our system yet. We still got the old system that's making mistakes. But what we did do is we started putting some of our people in place, monitoring these before they actually made it in to set some of these records straight so we'd have some better reporting with our antiquated system at the time. So we started physically on our own monitoring this and making this right. Now we go to 2020. Now 2020 is actually when we installed our new system. So you're not really going to see much of a change from the new system until you start getting into more like 21 and 22, because it takes time to implement it and get the information in there so you can start collecting. And And needless to say, you know, I mean, you show murder, and that's horrible. We don't want to see any, and it's a great year in this city when we see that as a big zero, without a doubt. But you can see that things are still going down, even as far as down to the larcenies. Now all of a sudden we're down under 1,000 for the year, which is good. And then we hit 21, and that was a very good year because you see that murder was 0.
Yep.
And you see the larcenies now are down in the 700s. I mean, everything has dropped considerably. And we're working on our new system. We're learning our new system. We're getting the information in there, and we're starting to gain the statistical history from that system. And here we are at 2022. You know, bad year. Yeah, you had 2 murders. And we never liked that. But you can see other things are still dropping, and that we're getting down even lower in some of these. And some of the things we did is in 2020, we of course did the new RMS system and got it going. We also took several grant opportunities and implemented, you know, COPS grant, which gives us more officers on the street. We did the Attorney General Safe Neighborhood Grant, which would put officers out after hours on overtime. That would pay their overtime to put more work out in the higher crime areas. Highway Safety Grant, the same thing. Of course, now you've all seen that we do the CIT grant with Red Rock, where we're going out and interacting with mental health issues. So, of course, all of those different things we did, that also saw a decrease in the crime during those times. And this bar chart here will kind of give you the past 5 years. So you can actually see 2018 to 2022, and you can see there's been a significant drop with not only implementing the new system, but some of the changes we've made, and very good police work on the count of the officers. Very good staff. I'll brag on them because they do a great job. So we did what they tell you not to do, the best we could do. It's hard to compare us to Oklahoma City because of population. It's hard to compare us with some of the larger cities. So we did grab 3 cities out, Bartlesville, Muskogee, and Ponca City. And we did all crimes per 1,000 residents to see what it would look like. And so here we have 2018, and we're high. That's high. And like I said, a lot of that was, you know, some of it was due to our system reporting. Some of it was we were just high and we needed to fix some things. Then we go to 2019, and you can see we're starting to drop. We're still higher than the others. We go to 2020, and you can see now we're kind of getting even with some of the others. We're dropping down. We're lower than some of them. Numbers are looking better. You always, what they tell you in the police management on the statistics is that you always want to try and keep your city down in high 20s, low 30s, mid 30s in these percentages, and you've got a pretty good handle on crime. And that's what I've always been told in my schools. If we go to 21, then we see, okay, we're down to a 42 crimes per 1,000. We're still higher than 2 of those cities. We're lower than 1 of them. And then we get to 2022, and again, we drop down. Now we're about 37, so we're about what we want to see. We always want to try and get it lower if we can. And that's comparing again to Bartlesville, Muskogee, and Ponca City. And like I said, it's just really hard to, because of the population and the different ways people do things and the way different cities operate their police departments. Like I said, some just do citations or release. They don't do the incident reports. That's not going to get reported. So that is a quick overview and hopefully a better understanding of how some of those statistics come about and where we're actually sitting right now. And I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Chief? Great report.
Everybody's relaxing. Go home and go to bed now.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Thank
did
you
my
so
job.
much. Thank you so
you.
much. All righty. Good reports again. Item 22, New business.
No new business, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners' comments. Let me start on your end. Put you on the spot first.
Yeah. I'm definitely not going to be able to talk on everything I want to just because I want to collect my thoughts. But I wanted to say my part for Jacob. Thank you for serving Shawnee. I'm appreciative of everything that you've done for me personally, getting me started and my feet on the ground and running with my elected position. But I think that it's going to be really hard to fill your loss because, and I'm pretty sure it was mentioned in everything that Ed said, your attention to detail and just the laser focus you have on every due diligent detail. I'm really appreciative of it, and I'm gonna miss you because I think you've been great for Shawnee, and you've been just an asset that is going to be hard to replace. I had some other notes here. I wanted to shed some light on Creed Humphrey because I think it's I don't watch football at all, and this was the exception to some extent, but I'm very proud of him and his accomplishments, and to see Facebook friends and Facebook former teachers, just everybody showing as much support as they could on social media, and I'm excited to see what he might want to name something after himself here in town and be on that legacy for Shawnee. There's a lot, I've got a lot of notes, but I'm very, very happy to see the admin report of the charter amendments. Glad that the first one was ward-specific voting. If I remember correctly, we're going to start next month, was it? Or in the next couple of months, getting those on the ball rolling, if I remember correctly, next month. I'm really happy for that. I know a lot of people are expecting to see that, and they're happy that it's there now, along with probably the other ones too that pertain to their interests or their passions. And I appreciate some of those getting expedited to the top of the list, where there probably were more that could have been also proposed. Thank you for everybody who came and spoke. I see a couple still here, but I'm hoping to make contact with everybody by the end of this week because I have some days off. And with that, I think that's up. I think I might be done.
Thank you, ma'am.
I could go on.
My turn. Jacob, appreciate everything you've done. I know you worked really hard, and we wish you well in your endeavors that you're fixing to go to. The rest of the report, Seth, and everybody, a lot of information there. Good to see crime rate coming down. I think the website's going to be considerably better as far as reporting issues and things of that nature. Sales tax still kind of trending good, but it's a little, I'm looking at it being a little flat just because of inflation, but still we're making headway. We're budgeting less than we're bringing in. So the expo, Frank's done a great job. He's kind of got inherited into a wasp's nest. And we're playing catch up from what went on a year ago on bills that didn't get paid and just the lack of reporting that we weren't getting from Spectra. So I'm looking forward. I think it'll be a dramatic change, and hopefully we'll kind of get into the end of this budget year with some excess funds still standing there, just with the implementation that they've made with revenues coming in from the RV slots and different things he's doing. So only time will tell with that. Cinderella, that's been an eyesore for years. You hated to see it burn. I feel bad for the company that bought it 3 months ago just to see it burn down. But the other side of it, it's time for it to get cleaned up and put it to good use with something that comes in there. That's about all I got.
Thanks, sir.
Well, again, Jacob, thank you. You know, when you got here was some pretty entertaining times, and appreciate you stepping in and doing all of the things that you've done. Really appreciate it a lot, and we're going to miss you. Staff, thank you for all the reports. Seth, Lindsay, the tax report was good. Chief, thank you on that report. Kind of clears up some of the things that some of us knew about that 2018 report, but it's nice to hear it officially. So I appreciate that. And thank you guys for starting this process. We're going to get there. I know it's been a lot of work for you to get us there, and it's going to be better. I'm confident. So it's going it'll be awesome. I saw a glimpse of how easy it's going to be. So thank you for your work on that.
Thanks, sir.
Gosh, as always, thank you to the city staff for their amazing hard work and just continuing to bring things to our attention that we need to know, but then also being flexible and on the ball to where we're constantly trying to evolve and constantly trying to improve everything that we're doing. Jacob, thank you for your amazing hard work, and for, again, everybody keeps saying how intentional your actions are and your dedication to detail. And I personally love that every time I would either text or call you, your answer was not an automatic yes or no or maybe or whatever. It was, let me check and I will get back with you. And that's amazing, to making sure that your answer to me or to the citizen was built out of not just your knowledge, but your confirming of whatever that answer would be. So thank you for always being that person. And also, if you get down there and you're like, this stinks, I bet we could find a place to put you back up here if you change your mind, because sometimes that happens. Chief, I've got to know a lot of your amazing officers and love each and every one of them, and I know that we'd be silly to not acknowledge your hard work and their hard work along with the improvements in reporting. So I know that those numbers are coming down, not just because of better reporting, but because of the amazing hard work of your officers and the dedication to not only just being police officers, but being good officers and having good leadership in place. And so thank you for your hard work, and thank you for putting people in position to succeed, and want to make sure that we acknowledge that as much as we can. Continue to love to see the revenue coming in the way it is. It's a great thing to see every time. The expo is, we've talked about this so many times, and we know that there's some significant issues out there. But after spending some time with Frank and seeing his ability to see the things the way that he needs to see them, and the plan that he's put into place, and he's able to do it with half of the staff, was just, that tells you right there that he has a way moving forward that is going to be something that's really going to be good. And so we're looking forward to seeing how given a few more months he can really get those things going the right direction. I'm excited about the charter changes. I look forward to seeing all those things, especially being in compliance with state law, which is always a good thing. But then also specifically for our citizens who have asked for the ward-specific voting and for more control into who their world is. I think that's great that we heard their voices and we listened to that, and we're getting that that put right. And so I know there's been people asking about that for a really, really long time. And I'm just thankful that we were able to do this and hear their voices. The request portal, if that does half of what you said it will do, it will be flipping amazing. And so I know that's one of the biggest complaints that I have is from individuals saying, I asked somebody about this and I don't know where it's at, or I don't know what happened, and and I would say I can call somebody, but I don't, and for that to be able to be seen in either an email or actual dot on a map, I know that will make most citizens feel more heard, and that their opinions are valuable. And I think that's something that is huge in kind of not necessarily regraining, but continuing to form trust between our city government and our citizens. Along with Creed, Mayor Bolt and I are currently in talks with the high school about having a celebration of Creed, and we'll be firming some of that up tomorrow. And so I don't know about renaming something, but we're going to celebrate him and have an opportunity to acknowledge not only his accomplishments on the football field, but just who he is as a young man and a citizen of Shawnee. He's a special guy, and it's not just because he can play football. He's a really good dude. Gosh, I think that's probably enough right there. So thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much to our staff. I just can't say enough how wonderful our current staff is. I think that the people that are in their positions right now have inherited a lot, and I see the staff consistently under the city manager's leadership getting down and doing the dirty work, admitting where we are, being honest about what went wrong, how things went wrong if we can figure it out, and then being accountable and putting plans in place to move forward in responsible and transparent ways. The portal is a great example of that. Improving communication with the citizens, I know, will help build some trust with some of those citizens that felt like they were not listened to before, and it's always great that we can have a new way to direct them, more access. Thank you, Chief, for the information. Some of that was really enlightening and helps us kind of frame the language that we can use and maybe educate people that we have conversations with that talk about the crime rate, because they've seen that one report. I wanted to give a special congratulations, or just a note of appreciation, to the animal shelter staff. They have done incredible work recently to get a lot of the animals adopted, a lot, and you see it on social media. They're proactively doing things that I know take more time out of their day, more effort, and probably cost money, and I'm sure a lot of the volunteers are donating, some of the cute little things for props, and someone's making the posts, and all that stuff takes time and effort away from all the other activities that they already have to do and responsibilities, but they're making a big difference for those animals, and that's really cool, and I think they deserve some praise for that for sure. Mr. Abbott had walked into a situation that I think that he is doing a really good job correcting, from what I can see in his explanations of his focus on specific metrics to correct, and then just bringing us up to date with the current markets, the RV, for example, the utilities, just being a responsible leader in that way. The bridge grant kind of slid in there, not slid in there that was a wrong term, that sounded unethical or something, but I don't think it got the notoriety that it deserved, because that was a huge get on the staff's part. A very expensive project that we won't be paying for as a city in its entirety, and almost not at all. for the project. That was a huge accomplishment on staff's part, and really appreciative. I wanted to say also, I think my final thing, thank you to Jacob. He's made such a big impact, and everyone's already sung his praises. I just wanted to say a quick story that I thought was enlightening about his intelligence. So Jacob came to a trivia event that my friends were at, a trivia, like just fun game event. And he was new to town, and I knew him because of the commission. And he was so nice, and some of my friends were like, hey, Jacob, come over here. You can join our team. And he just politely and so nicely said, I'm okay. And then he proceeded to beat all of us, like a team of 8 by himself. And he won trivia by himself. So that, I hate losing someone that intelligent, and we wish you the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm going to start. Jacob, thank you so much for all you've given to our community. You've done such a great job and have left things, big shoes to fill for whoever fills your role. I think we want this community to be known as a place where young talent can come and thrive and be developed and be free to do their job and be excellent. And then if big opportunities come, have the chance to step into them. And I think if we are a community that treats our staff that way, we'll continue to have amazing talent. And thank you for kind of setting the bar as we went forward. And while the next person is going to have big shoes to fill, Madam City Manager, you've done a great job in hiring, and we expect the same. And have no doubt that Jacob 2.0 is on the way. And Jacob, we hope that you will feel free and to visit, and certainly based on Commissioner Ingalls, I hope you will feel free to visit on Trivia and Tapas Night, and you're welcome to join our team. And that would be a great addition to those of us that aren't great at trivia. Mr. Young, we all face that difficult decision whether to come here or go to the fire scrimmage tonight, and by reports my son is sending me, it's a great night and a great thing for our community to have, and so hope folks will take advantage of that as the season comes around. I want to congratulate again the swim team on winning the state championship. That's a big deal. I was going down Kickapoo when the police escort bringing them back into town came. And that was a really cool thing to see. And Chief, thanks for helping coordinate that, because I know a bunch of kids felt really special, and the street was kind of lined with people clapping and cheering. And I'm not sure it was safety policy, but there were heads and arms out the windows of the school bus celebrating. And I'm sure, hopefully, you didn't give them any tickets, because that would hurt our improving crime numbers. But appreciate you doing that and all that your guys and gals do in support of our city, and I think that's very apparent in your report tonight. Sales tax numbers continue to be, I think, as Commissioner Seahorn said, at least in line with inflation, and that's good, and staff has done a great job of ensuring that more money is coming in than is going out. The Expo Center, the Expo is a tough issue, and while we, I think, can be thankful for the corrective hand that Mr. Abbott is imploring, and thankful for it, Madam City Manager, I would ask that you stick their feet as close to as hot of a fire as possible to make sure that we don't get in, that the situation continues to improve. And while we've said things about the Expo that are tough, I think we should bring out something that was really great. A couple of weeks ago at the Expo was the Mission of Mercy by the Oklahoma Dental Foundation. I got to go out there and tour that, and to see citizens in our community who couldn't afford otherwise the care they were getting. I think they estimated over $2 million of dental care happened, and that was a huge thing for so many in our community. And I want to thank the Oklahoma Dental Foundation for that, because one of the things that we were actually slated to have that during COVID when things were shut down, and normally that would just move on to the next city, but they honored their word and came to Shawnee when normally they would go to the city where the chair of the foundation is. And so they said, no, we're going to honor our word. And that was life-changing for many in our community, and wanted to acknowledge that. Join the other commissioners in congratulating Creed Humphrey for his Super Bowl championship. It's been a fun to follow his career, and I remember the pride I had, or the fun, when we used to have signs that said "A home of Darian Gordon" when Darian played in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And if no one wants to volunteer, I don't really love the street name that I live on. I'd recommend my street to be named Creed Humphrey Drive if no one else wants to pick a street. But I think we should explore what is the appropriate way to honor this accomplishment. I believe it's our first Super Bowl champion. And anyway, as Commissioner Flood said, on top of being good at football, Creed's just a great person, a great representative of his family, a great representative of our community. Even if, as a lifelong Broncos fan, he plays for the Chiefs, and that's been a little hard to stomach. But yeah, I'm really excited to see that for him the other night. And charter changes, excited about them. I hope the city will. The city did a great job putting out educational pieces on the sales tax votes that helped the voters decide how they wanted to vote. I hope that we can put the same level of enthusiasm and effort into these charter changes, so that the voters will have access to the education pieces and truly understand what they're voting on. So with that, Mr. Mayor, it's all yours.
Thank you, sir. Man, you guys have covered a lot of ground, so I'm going to try to keep it short because I know we're here late anyway. I'm going to start off with Jacob. You know, I don't remember voting on, letting you go. We are really going to miss you, and we have enjoyed having you here in Shawnee, and hopefully you won't be a stranger. We whether it's here playing, kicking everybody's butt in trivia or, whatever else, but we are going to miss you, and we appreciate all the hard work. I have had numerous folks around town, compliment you on just how professional you've been and how responsive you've been to their questions and their concerns. So we can't thank you enough. Someone is going to have very big shoes to fill, that is for sure. So I don't envy, it's kind of like following John Wooden or something in basketball. Somebody's got a high bar they're going to have to meet. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Staff reports were amazing as always. Lots of good information that hopefully people that will get to hear if they didn't hear it tonight. Tax report, we always want more, but we're doing well. So keep bringing us the good news. We appreciate that. We had two folks talk tonight about the Maybe Gear Museum, and we've got some really cool museums here in town. I mean, top-notch museums that if you haven't been out to see them, you really need to go do that. So take them up and go check those out. Charter changes, I guess we will vote on next month. The plan is we'll look at that and look to vote on those next week. I'm really happy to see those, and most of them look like they're just getting us in line with state law, and I've always been in favor of the ward voting. To me, that just makes the most sense, so you can expect to see me be very supportive of that. The only other thing I have is, Rob, you brought up a thing about Shawnee Forward. They can hire and fire whoever they want for their you're out of order. So it's my turn to talk. It's my turn to talk. It's my turn to talk.
You're incorrect.
My turn to talk. Chief, could you maybe show him out?
Sure.
There you go.
See everybody.
There you go. Thank you. So, any organization, who they hire as their director, that is up to them. We have no play in that. What I read on social media that they put out was that person has resigned, and I'm gonna take that at face value. That's not for us to comment on. So anyway, with that, we believe ready to move on. We are adjourned, and we'll move on to the Airport Authority. So item 1 is consider approval of consent. I'm sorry, you need time. Yes, I am so sorry. And I apologize for everyone that's hung around with us. So we will get this right, and this is going to be an amazing system, but.
So we need to leave this meeting, correct?
We will leave this one.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry about that since the voting isn't working.
Yeah.
I don't think that we need to.
We're good. We're going to follow your lead.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will get through this. We're good for the Airport Authority. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Mark and Darren. We have a motion and a second for approval of item 1. We'll call the question. Darren.
Yes.
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 Thank you, ma'am. Motion passes 7-0. New business is item 2. Thank you, ma'am. We are adjourned, and we'll move on to Municipal Authority. And I'm going to give you a couple seconds there. You just let me know when you're ready. You just let me know. Question? Until it's getting to be that time of year. It'll be allergy stuff.
When the cedar trees turn yellow instead of green.
Yeah.
You know it's.
We're going to have all those Bradford fairs here in a week or two.
Gosh.
Should be.
Okay, we're ready.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 1 is consider approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a motion and a second to approve item 1. We'll call the question.
Matthews?
Aye.
Ingalls?
Yes.
Flood?
Yes.
Bolt?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Seymour?
Yes.
Richter?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Motion passes 7-0.
Being on C-SPAN.
Item 2, consider and take action with respect to a resolution of the Shawnee Municipal Authority, the authority authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the authority, specifically adding 0.5% of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of any and all necessary documents, including but not limited to a sales tax agreement, an amended parity agreement, an amendment to general bond indenture, and an amendment to loan agreements, and amended security agreement, and containing other provisions relating thereto. Mr. Foos, is this going to be your last time?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Holy cow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you all for the kind words, by the way. Pursuant to the companion item approved by the City of Shawnee, the Shawnee Municipal Authority is authorized to amend the security pledge for all OWRB debt, effectively replacing the utility improvement fee with the 0.5% sales tax. With that, staff recommends approval of the item, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Anyone got questions?
Pretty straightforward.
No. How about a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Thank you. Joe, one more time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution of the Shawnee Municipal Authority, the authority, authorizing the modification of the security with respect to certain outstanding indebtedness of the authority, specifically adding 1/2 of 1%, open parenthetical, 0.50%, close parenthetical, of sales tax revenue to the security pledge, approving and authorizing the execution of any and all necessary documents, including but not limited to a sales tax agreement, an amended parity agreement, an amendment to general bond indenture, and an amendment to loan agreements, an amended security agreement, and containing other provisions relating thereto.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of item 2. We'll call the question.
Matthews?
Aye.
Mills?
Aye.
Flood?
Yes. Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Seaborn?
Yes.
Richter?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 3 is new business.
No new business.
Thank you, ma'am. Guess what? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and sticking with us.
Yeah.